great episode of Dazed and Infused. I'm Latham Woodward, your host, as usual, and today's guest is Sequoah Turner from The Source in Nevada. Sequoah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to join.
Well, I'm really excited to have you here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Speaker View, and so that we can have a conversation and the people at home can see you. First off, I ask this question in every single interview I do. What is your historical relationship to cannabis? How did you come to cannabis?
That is a great question. My cannabis story and my roadmap to cannabis is a little bit unique. Was always a consumer, and what I'd like to say is a patient, but really became an advocate for the plant after, unfortunately, dealing with an uncle here in Las Vegas who was in the VA system and unfortunately going through some health issues. And we found cannabis to really alleviate a lot of his symptoms. And this was right at the beginning when Nevada was going medical. So he was one of the first medical patients here in the state.
Well, that is very interesting and somewhat typical answer, honestly, about your path, especially with VA and the way they treat illnesses. Now, I'm going to just jump to a conclusion here. Was he being treated with opioids?
He was. And he had some intestinal issues that were pretty serious. He's unfortunately no longer with us.
Oh.
But the relief that he was able to gain through cannabis, it really opened my eyes to the power of the plant. Obviously, from a recreational use, I was very familiar with it, but I wasn't as familiar with the medicinal side. So that's really how I became a passionate advocate for the plant.
Well, that makes you a great guest on the show for sure. I mean, you have all the bona fides, as they say, for being the person you are in the position you are. You are the Senior Vice President of Sales at The Source, correct?
Vice President of Retail, yes.
And you have 5 locations now around Nevada. You have Las Vegas, Pahrump, Reno, and where else?
Henderson and North Las Vegas.
Right on. And so I'm going to delve into some questions because there's subject matter that has been bandied around this show for a couple of years. And I'm in California, and the retail model here is somewhat broken. And it has a lot to do with the tax burden here in the state of California, which I don't know if you deal with as much in Nevada. I don't think you do. But what is your take on the retail market in Nevada right now? Robust, dead even, or dropping?
Honestly, it's dropping. So I'm going to be very frank in my assessment. We are in a very heavily saturated market. To your point, I do feel that we are overly taxed and overly regulated. Our regulatory board has made great strides, I would say, in the last year, and being a little bit more collaborative with operators, understanding some of the operational hiccups that really prevent profitability, and working with operators to really alleviate some of those issues and come to the table to provide a very efficient resolution to some very serious concerns that operators are having.
And certainly 280E issues are just
rampant in the industry. Correct.
It's crippling the entire industry. And I don't think anyone on the federal level cares because they're making money because people aren't being able to deduct standard cost of goods sold. So I'm sure that affects you every day. But it seems like from looking at your bio, seeing your store profiles, that you do have a very robust system in place, and you came out of the Missouri market, I believe, for cannabis as well. Okay,
correct.
That's great. So you
Which
have
is a very unique market.
Yeah, and they recently, I think it was just this week or last week, they changed to full recreational. I believe it was fairly recent.
Oh gosh, it was in the spring. It is projected to be $1 billion market. Missouri was unusual. I operated in that state when it was only medical, was a bit restrictive in how you were able to go out and educate customers and acquire customers, and some marketing regulations that really weren't in favor of operators. I think that state and that board quickly realized that they were encouraging customers to go across the border to Illinois, where the taxes were very, very high to purchase, instead of being able to foster that environment in the home state. And so it was great to see them pivot so quickly to adult use.
That's great. Another question on the retail front is, and it's something that we have encountered in California quite a bit, is not, I don't know if you know this or not, but I make a product called Shuggies. We make an infused agave powder with nano, and it's a 500 milligram, 1,000 milligram scoopable concentrate that passes all the guidelines here in California. But I found nothing but headwinds against my product, and like-minded people who would do interesting, different, diverse things that are not flower, they're not vape, don't get attention and don't get shelf space. Is this an issue with you guys too, just because flower and vape cartridges outsell, and so that's where you're gravitating? Or do you give small brands and innovative brands a break and try to get them into the market?
I'll be very honest. I am a big proponent of the smaller brands. I think it is the innovation and the freshness and introducing new product into the market is key to moving the industry forward. We can't be solely reliant on flower, and nor can we be solely reliant on disposables and carts and vapes. We really need to start thinking outside of the box in the industry and thinking what's new, what's different, how to really acquire customers who don't feel comfortable, with inhalation.
Right.
And I think that's an issue that sometimes gets overlooked. But as we're trying to grow, and as everyone, I can especially speak to here in Las Vegas or here in Nevada, as everyone's trying to go after the same pieces of the same pie, that innovation is key to acquiring new customers.
Okay, well, good answer. I mean, that you're definitely a proponent for the small brands, and there's a lot of really great people, especially women-owned brands, that are not getting a good shake right now.
I 100% agree with you. What we need in this market is, or just in the industry in general, is more innovation. And I think people are hesitant to really invest right now in innovation and new products. And I completely understand why, but there has to be a balance.
So, another issue that comes up, and this is an educational program, right? It's about like the cannabis consumer and the new adopter, readopter coming to the platform. What we've also seen in California, I think we've seen in Nevada too, is a real tilt toward high potency, especially in the flower market, with ridiculous numbers that we all know. If you're in the business, you all know some of these things are just not true. Like flower that's 55, tested 55%. It just, what? No, this isn't real. But this constantly escalating scale upward toward higher and higher potency, and it's aimed, frankly, and I'd just like to find out if you agree with this, at the 21 to like 26-year-old crowd. They're like, I don't care, I want it cheap and high potency.
Absolutely. The way that I approach that here and approach trying to resolve that issue is, number one, making sure that people understand that it is the complete profile of the plant, and to not discard whether it's a flower strain or a product just because the THC isn't as potent as you're seeing out in the market.
It's a holistic effect, right?
Correct.
It's not just one component. It's not just THC. It's all the subcategories of cannabinoids that lend to your experience, right? And I think I know where you're going with your statement about Las Vegas.
Yes. So, we do have a lot of tourists that come into the market. They are in states in which there's not a medical program, and they are looking to get as high as humanly possible.
Right.
And listen, there's always a market for that, but there is a larger market in which I compare it to the wine industry. When you start sampling wines, you don't really understand what goes into winemaking and why some wines are rated higher than others, and the growing method and things like that. But as you mature and as your taste mature, you start to have a real understanding, but not even an understanding, but an appreciation for the craft.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to honestly impose upon customers is, we understand that you want to consume and have fun and it be a recreational plant, but also have an appreciation for the craft. So that's why we're always very speaking about true to the plant, true to the people, because we want to craft that feeling of appreciation for the hard work that it takes to grow the product.
Something that I'm fond of saying to people who are saying, telling me about high potency. It's like, listen, when you go to a restaurant or bar and the waiter asks you for a drink, do you order Everclear on ice?
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
No, just
Perfect
I
analogy.
want to get as messed up as possible really quick. Give me a double of Everclear, right? That's not it's the exact same analogy. And bud tenders, hopefully you'll pass my message on to your bud tenders. It's like it's more experience, more nuance, just like your wine example. And it's a very, very good example. And I like that you understand that and you are conveying that to your clientele because it's important. And that makes for you as a good retailer. And that's within the retail strata. The people who educate, the people who continue to treat their customers like a return customer. I know you're in Las Vegas, and the tourist crowd's big. But if you treat everybody like they're coming back to you, let's say you own a bakery and they're going to get a bagel every morning, great. And hey, what's going on, Bob? Here's your bagel. You don't give them a super garlic bagel one day, right?
That's right. One of the things and one of the reasons I joined the Source, honestly, was because I love the fact that the Source is a local community-based organization. So we have a lot of community partnerships in which we give back to the community. Mm-hmm. So not saying that we don't enjoy our tourist customers, because we do, mm-hmm. but we really are dedicated to making sure that we are creating an environment in our dispensaries in which we are supporting our customers so that they return. And that we are answering questions that we call our bud tenders floor advisors, that our floor advisors are highly educated about not only the plant, but all new products coming out. So they can really advise and meet each customer on their cannabis journey.
Great answer. From your point of view, with your relationship to your managers and bud tenders that are, in retail, what do you tell them on a daily basis in terms of motivation, in terms of like, how do you treat people and what's your messaging to them?
My biggest message to them is build a perfect basket. That is something that I've been saying since I've started here with the Source. It's mm-hmm. not about, it's about understanding what the customer is seeking through their cannabis experience. So it's not about you have to hit a certain metric of units per transaction. That's great. We love a high, what we call UPT. We love a high average dollar sale. But really what I am more excited about is being able to, perfect example, I was at our Sahara location about a week ago and was kind of walking the shelves and a customer stopped me to say, I really want you to know that this location changed my life. I was going through a bout of depression and a particular manager could kind of see what was going on and took the time to educate me on products that would really alleviate my symptoms, but something that I could use long term. And to hear that, listen, this is not $100 spend or a customer that comes in and spends $150, but this is a customer that has trust in our dispensaries and in the guidance of our staff. And to me, that trumps anything else is the fact that the staff was dedicated to building a basket that addressed the needs of the customer and built trust.
That is great. And that really means that customer will probably tell 5 people, if not 10 people,
absolutely,
to come and see you. And that, God bless you for doing this, because that is the key to retail. It's building a customer base. If you don't have a customer base, you got nothing. If you don't have return customers, like for example, here in California, there is a big trend is that's get them in, stick them, and get them out. Yeah. And that's the 3X wholesale to retail model, 3.5 in some cases. It's just insanity. And so when someone comes in and they buy a vape cart and it's a half gram vape cart and it's $90 or something insane, you've lost that person. That person's
absolutely.
Never coming back. Or
absolutely.
For instance, if you your bud tender tells them to buy an edible chocolate bar, let's say that's 100 milligrams in 10 milligram slices, and it's like, oh, you can eat it all, just don't worry about it. And then you've lost that person. That person absolutely. Will never, number one, they'll never have an edible again. Number two, they're never coming back to your store. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
lost effort, right?
Correct. And the effort that it took to get in to, it's the full cycle. It's the full life cycle of the customer, but also what I like to say, the full life cycle of the employee. So you bring the employee in. I would never train an employee to squeeze a customer to make sure that you're maximizing each transaction. Maximize the experience. Um, that does not necessarily mean maximize getting as much as you can out of their wallet.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what I want people. That's what I want all of my staff to understand.
So in kind of wrapping all these past subjects that we've talked about, what motivates you personally on a day-to-day basis in your job? What is it? Customer interaction? Is it you love retail? What motivates you?
Really, and I say this every day. It's my employees, and that is 100%. They are the most passionate advocates for the plant. I am happy to say that I have a really good relationship with even, our greeters that are coming in, know them by name. It's really watching employees go from a greeter to, a floor advisor, now to a front of house manager, and seeing their journey. And I love the fact that employees are not shy about providing feedback, whether it's about promotions or products, and just having that back and forth and knowing that they feel supported, because that translates over to the customer experience. So that is what really motivates me. And to be quite honest, if I'm ever having a difficult week, if I look at sales and sales are down a little bit, I will literally go and spend a full day in the dispensary because it refills my cup. To see the interaction, to talk to employees, often in this industry, and I think at an executive level, the employee voice gets very muted out from the decision making. And that is not something that I ever advocate in my role. The employee voice is front and center because that voice is the voice of the customer.
So it sounds to me like you really care for your employees, and that these are not disposable people who are just doing a temporary job. You've invested your time, effort, and money, and your company's money, into their training and retention.
Absolutely. Cool. Yes.
So let's talk about some of your brands, because you are vertically integrated, right? The Source.
Yes. Yes, we
so
are.
You have Flower House, you have Camp, and you have High Heads. And by the way, this podcast is not paid for by Source. I just ran into them at a cannabis conference and in Nevada, and I thought it would be interesting subject matter for everybody, especially people who are tourists and they want to find a new place. I mean, to equal time, we've had Larry Scheffler on from Planet 13. Different thing though. That's an experience. That's not a small dispensary, or a chain of dispensaries. That's a whole thing, right? But it sounds like you're much more of that neighborhood kind of thing.
Yes.
So tell us about your brands.
Yes, so we have Camp. Camp is a complete our solventless line. We're very, very proud of that. So we have our Camp flower and our Camp concentrates. We actually just released onto the market a Camp disposable, which is the only variable voltage disposable on the market right now. So once again, trying to meet the needs of the customer and making sure that we're understanding. It is filled with rosin, so the viscosity is a little bit different. And we got the feedback from our customers and our employees that, listen, we need a battery that's going to meet the needs of our customers. In addition, we have our High Heads line, which in my opinion is one of our newer product lines, but something that's going to catch on with the market very quickly. Within our High Head brand, we have our gummies, we have vapes, and soon to be we'll have flower at a very high quality flower at a very competitive price. And excuse me, I failed to mention within our Camp brand, we also have Camp gummies also. So we are actively researching and introducing things to not only meet the needs of the market, but making sure that we're also innovating also to provide freshness to the market.
So my next question is, and I don't mean to trap you on this if you don't have a program in place, but do you have a recycling program for batteries and things like that in place yet?
That is a fantastic question. That is actually something that we're working on with one of our vendors called the Bureau. I detest the amount of waste that this industry generates, and disposables. It's one of those. And
yeah,
listen, I would love carts to be a little bit more popular in the market, just because. But we're still back to the waste component. But yes, we are actively pursuing that. We are going to test launch it out of our Reno location first, before introducing into Southern Nevada.
That's great. I think, the whole industry is really looking at, the recycling issue, the battery issue. I mean, I have a lot of batteries myself. I'm a vape user, and I like having a disposable occasionally, especially if I'm traveling or something. But it's definitely not
convenience.
It's convenience.
Yes.
It is. But I've had more than one vape disposable completely go dead on me suddenly, and that's very disappointing.
Yes. It's great because even our disposables are rechargeable.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's great. Tell the people at home, you recently got 11 awards at the Nevada Cannabis Awards Music Festival. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
All right. What were they for?
Our flower, our disposables, and our concentrates. And then a shout out to our educator, Darby, who is going out into the market and making sure that people are educated about our brands. And also our cultivation team also got an award. So really proud of the entire team. Really proud of the product that they're actually, producing and working hard each and every day to get a high quality product out in the market. And it was great to see for them to get the recognition. We all know how difficult this industry can be sometimes, especially on the production side. Yeah. So for them to get that recognition is really great, and super proud of the team. Yes.
All right. Well, my hat's off to you guys. So we're going to end on this question I ask everybody, and you don't have to answer it in first person. You can answer this question about somebody else, your grandma, your mom, an uncle, and that's tell our audience a Stony story. Everybody's got one, and it doesn't have to be about you, and you don't have to name names.
Oh, gosh, a Stony story. In college, so I graduated from Davidson College in North Carolina, proud Wildcat.
Wildcats.
Thank you. North Carolina at the time was not a medicinal state, so we would go out into the woods to smoke cannabis before getting into our studies. North Carolina has quite the skunk population. So we would often return sometimes with the aroma of not only, really high potent cannabis, but a little bit of skunk just from smoking in their habitat. So, and we didn't mind because,
what a cover story, right?
100%. No, we were just unfortunately sprayed. That's not cannabis you're smelling. So
that is my first skunk story. So that's a good one. In 150 episodes, that's amazing. So where can people find you, and where can the people find you online?
Excellent. So we can be found online at www.thesourcenv.com. And then regarding our locations, we have a location in Reno off of Longley, so 5270 Longley Road. We have 3 locations in Southern Nevada in Las Vegas area. We have our North Las Vegas location that's off of 420 Deer Springs. Our Sahara or Central Las Vegas, which is 2507 Rainbow. And then our location based off of Eastern Road in Henderson. And then we are very proud. We just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of our location in Pahrump, Nevada, which is a little bit outside of the suburbs, about an hour's drive.
Yeah. And is there anybody on your staff that's been really great to you this month and you want to shout them out?
I would have to shout out 2 people. Our lead digital creator, which is Haley Hawthorne, who does Haley Hitchcock, who does all of our digital marketing and our assets, and is just a badass, and so sorry for the word. And then I'd also have to shout out David Rivera, who is our retail district manager, who travels from location to location, just making sure the teams are good, and serving as kind of that liaison between myself and the executive team as things go out, and just making sure that the teams are good.
Well, right on. Well, I got to say, you've been a great guest, Sequoia, and much happiness to you in the future. And congratulations on your position as Senior Vice President of Retail. And I hope next time I'm in Vegas, which is not too far away, I'll come in and see you for sure, if not sooner. And once again, people at home, this has been Latham Woodward hosting Dazed and Infused with another great guest. Come back to us next week for another great episode, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.